Hello and welcome. I'm really excited for today's video because it's all about the new Natasha Denona Pastel Palette. So here it is in all its glory. I'm going to be doing 4 different looks with this palette, and through those 4 looks I'm going to be using every single shade in this palette. So I'll have a good idea of how every single shade works in this. I'll do some swatches, some comparisons, and I'll just share my full thoughts on this palette. So if you'd like to see all of that, just keep on watching. Here is the palette. It's still cold from the mailbox. I literally just picked it up from our mailbox, and here is the inside. I think Freddie likes it too. I think it looks really beautiful. My hope today is to do 4 different looks. So I don't think I'm going to speak through the looks, but I'll show you everything that I'm doing and do a nice clear demo of everything. So let's just get started right now with the first 2 looks. So here's the first look. I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm not going to do liner or mascara. To finish it off, I would probably just use a brown liner along the lash line there and some mascara, or you could use a different colored liner if you wanted to be a bit more adventurous with it. You could use like a green liner or whatever you want really. But just so you can see the look you can get with the shadow. All right, and now moving on to my second look. And here's the second eye all finished. I decided to just keep this one all matte to see what I could do with that type of a look. And I think it's really nice. I will say the Bellini shade was actually a little bit darker and more pigmented than I expected, but that's not a bad thing. I just thought that looking at it in the pan, it looked quite desaturated, but I was surprised to see how nice and kind of, it's almost an orange, but still pastel, so it leans a little more toward the peach. I guess that's why it's called Bellini. And I'm just gonna leave this eye like this. Again, I would finish it off with liner. It could look really nice with a blue liner or just your classic brown or black, whatever your go-to is. I think that would work great too. And some mascara and you'd be all set, but I'm gonna leave it here. So lime and mint, and blue and orange. So far, I'm absolutely thrilled with this palette, but I'm gonna go take these looks off and then I'll come back and do 2 more. All right, I'm back and ready for my next 2 looks. Here we go. it's look number 3. Really happy with this. I wanted to mention right now, in case I forget, a couple of these shades are repeats from the Tropic palette. So Mint Frost and Limoncello are the ones that I'm aware of that are from the Tropic palette. I don't have the Tropic palette, but I have heard mixed reviews on it, and I think a lot of people had issues with some of the shades in that palette, and I think Mint Frost was one of them. Limoncello might have also been an issue in that palette. I'm not 100% sure, but in this palette, I find they're great. I'm not finding any issues with any of these shades so far, and by the time I finish this last look, I'm going to have used all of the shades in this palette. So far, no issues with any of these. They're all performing really, really well and really easy to work with. So I just wanted to say that before I move on to the final look. And here's the final look. So I'm just going to finish these eyes up with a little bit of liner. I think I'll just use Cocoa from Victoria Beckham and some mascara. Then I'll be back. I'll do all the swatches and I'll just round up my thoughts on this palette, and I might have a couple of comparisons as well. Okay, here are the swatches. I am not very good at doing swatches, but I just wanted to show you them in case you like to see shadows presented in that way. I will say they don't swatch that well. I had to do like a couple of layers for most of these, but I'm not really concerned about how things swatch if they perform well on my eyes, and I'm really happy with how this palette performs on my eyes. I'm just going to run through the names of all the swatches. So we have from top to bottom, Tulle, Illusion, Mint Frost, Bora, Dainty, Brisk, Adriatic, Starlet, Bellini, Bubble, Limoncello, Duet, Airy, Zest, and Feather all the way down there. I think it's also kind of hard to get good swatches of these because they're pastel, so they're very white based, and against my really pale skin, there's not all that much contrast. So with this palette, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the swatches, or you can go see Natasha Denona's own swatches on her Instagram. She did really beautiful swatches, but I would pay more attention to how everything performs on the eyes. And I am super happy with how everything performs on the eyes. I was really excited when I heard that this palette was coming. I love pastels, and to have a whole palette of pastels is just great, and especially in the Natasha Denona formula. This makes me really happy. I've always loved pastels ever since I learned what they were. I went to Florida with my mom and my aunt when I was like 4 years old, I think, to visit my grandparents there. And that's when I learned what pastels were, and I've been in love with them ever since. So in addition to these shades just being beautiful to look at, I think that they work really well on the eyes. And I think that part of the reason I love pastels in makeup and in eye makeup is that, to me, it's a bit more of an approachable way to use color on the eyes. I feel much more comfortable with these lighter, more white-based, paler colors on my eyes as opposed to really bright, vibrant, more jewel tones or true colors, which can kind of overwhelm my face, I think, and are just a little bit of a heavier look for me than something like pastel, which to me always has this quality of airiness and softness and kind of an ethereal quality that I really enjoy. And I think that if you were looking to dive a little bit more into wearing colorful eye makeup, but you're a little bit hesitant, I think that pastels, and I think this palette in particular, would be a really good way to kind of ease into that. Although you've got only colors here, there are really no neutral tones here. I think that you can create really still wearable and really pretty and fun pastel colorful looks that to me, those types of looks just really brighten my day when I have a nice colorful eye makeup that I can still feel comfortable in. Now, I'm not going to do comparisons to other Natasha Denona palettes. I highly recommend that you watch Alicia's video. She's Kinky Sweat on YouTube. I'm going to link her below because she's my #1 go-to for eyeshadow palette reviews and overviews, especially for Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath. I think she's really an expert on those. She has really thorough, excellent videos, lots of comparisons, and she's really funny and entertaining. You've probably seen her. If you're watching my channel, you've probably seen her already. But she posted her video on the Pastel palette, I think yesterday morning, and I did watch that one. And she includes lots of comparisons to other Natasha Denona shades, so shades from Trio Chrome and from Circo Loco. I think those are the main ones that she did comparisons with, which are going to be really helpful for you if you're looking for specific shade comparisons for shades in this palette. She also did 4 looks in her video, so if you wanted more inspiration for looks with this palette, her video is a great resource for that as well. But what I wanted to just do a quick little comparison to was the other pastel palette that I have, which is the GlamLite Ice Cream Dream. I got this probably about a year ago, and it's been really my go-to palette for colors and pastels since I got it. And if you look at this, I think you can see that this has some more of those sort of true tones. So while it has these more pastel-y tones, down here it also has more vibrant and kind of deeper true tones and gem tones up in this area of the palette. So you get a little bit more diversity if you were looking for more of those deeper, I don't want to say saturated because the pastels are saturated too, but you know what I mean, more kind of vibrant colors. Although again, I don't think that's the right word because the pastels in here are very vibrant as well, but just in a different way. Looking at the two side by side, I think you can see there are similarities there. Some of the matte purplies and blues and aqua type shades are found in the Ice Cream Dream palette as well. I think the Ice Cream Dream performs really well. If I were to choose between the two, although today's only my first time using the Natasha Denona, so it's hard to make that judgment so quickly, but I think personally if I were to choose between the two, I would go for the Natasha Denona. I just think the formula is slightly better. For me, it's a little bit easier to work with. Both palettes have buildable formulas, but I think that you can get a little bit more pigment right off the bat from the Natasha Denona than from the GlamLite, which I find does take quite a lot of building, but both are really easy to work with. It's probably more a matter of the colors that you're looking for and the formulas as well, because something the Natasha Denona palette has is a lot of those cream to powder shades, which are one of my favorite formulas from Natasha Denona. So that was another reason that I was really excited about this palette, because I love working with that formula, and I think the ones included in this palette work really, really well. The traditional matte formula in here works well, but it is powdery, so it does leave kick up in the pan. So for example, the shade Bellini is just a typical powder formula, and it did leave kick up in the pan, but I actually didn't get any fallout from any of these shades in the Natasha Denona palette. One of the downsides that I've found with the GlamLite palette is that it doesn't have, first of all, it doesn't have a matte sky blue type shade. And I also find that it doesn't have the kind of pastel purple that I really want. So I usually have to mix these two pastel purples together to get the type of shade that I really want. And the type of shade I really want is this one here, which is Bubble from the Natasha Denona palette. And then the sky blue from the Natasha Denona Airy fills that void that I find in the Ice Cream Dream palette. This one here is that Cookie Monster shade from Ice Cream Dream, this one right here. I just find it's a little bit more gray than I want, and that's why I prefer actually both of these shades from the Natasha Denona palette. But at the same time, of course, you're getting a lot of shades in this palette that you don't get in the Natasha Denona. I also wanted to compare Zest, which is that limey shade from the Pastel palette, and then that green there is Pistachio from the Ice Cream Dream. And again, although looking at the palettes you might think, oh, they're pretty similar colors, when you see them swatched, you can see they're actually quite different. Zest is really more pastel than Pistachio, which looks like a quite kind of vibrant, true color comparatively. And Zest is that really pretty kind of pastel chartreuse that I've been looking for, and I don't think I really have that type of a shade in any other palette. So I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful to see some different looks created with this palette. And just to sum up, although you know this already, I am really thrilled with this palette and I do highly recommend it if you're interested in it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. I always love to see those. And if you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would really love for you to do so. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video.